Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Nasa's Thread. Today we'll be learning how to make this simple boho jumpsuit. If it's something you're interested in, keep watching. Let's get into this. So we'll be making use of 3 yards of crepe fabric. Now you can make use of any fabric of your choice. Okay. The first thing I did was to fold my fabric into four. You know that our crepe is measured 60 inches in length, so I just folded this by the yardage into four equal parts because we cut in the front and back together. Now the top of the fold here will be serving as the starting point for this. So on that part, now from that end I'll go down by 2 inch, which will serve as my casing. So this is a form of a halter neck. The neckline area is a halter neck, so I just went down by 2 inches for my casing, and I'm going to make a line there. So you can also use 1.5 inches for your casing. Okay, so I just used 2 inches, and after that I'll go on and take the measurement from my shoulder to the chest area. So the chest area is gotten by taking the measurement of your round balls divided by 6 plus 1.5, which is also your armhole length. Okay, then I went ahead to mark down to the waist point and then the hip area. So you take the measurement from the starting point to the chest to the waist, which is the half length, and then to your hip point. So I just ruled my lines across those ends. Okay, now I'm going to take the measurement for the full length of this. Like this is 60 inches in length, so if you want this to, you can also use the full length of this as it, if you want it to be flowy on the ends. But I'll be using 58 inches instead, so including my hemming allowance, 58 inches. So ensure to add hemming allowances to yours by the time you measure yours. Okay, so now we'll go in and start imputing our horizontal measurements we've gotten. So now the next we want to do is to get our crouch depth, right? So to get the crouch depth, divide your round hip by 4 and then add 5 inches to that. Now in the case of this, I added 5 inches to mine, but it didn't really drop as I wanted it to. So if you want this to drop well, I would advise you add 7 to 8 inches to that. So after measuring the circumference of your hip divided by 4, add 7 inches or 8 inches to that, so that it's going to drop properly around the crouch area. Okay, so we have our vertical measurements down: the chest, the waist, the hip, the crouch, and the full length. Now we'll start by taking our measurements. So on one end where I have like the folded end, I will start by taking half of my shoulder measurement. So the shoulder measurement I'm using is 7.5 inches. That's divided by 2 is 7.5, and then I'll add 1 inch to that for seam allowance. Okay, now on the chest line, I'll go in and mark my round bust divided by 4 plus 5 inches, which is the allowance for the ease for in this case. Now if you want yours to be freer, to be bigger, you can add more inches to yours, whatever works for you. And I just went in with my curve rule to connect that part together in order to get my armhole curve. So after covering that end, I went over to the waist area and I took the quarter inches of my round waist divided the circumference of my round waist divided by 4 plus 5 inch also, and then I repeated the same thing at the hip area. My round hip divided by 4 plus 5 inches. Like I said, If you want to add more allowances to yours, you can add. It totally depends on you. And I'll just go in with my free hand to connect my measurements together like so. Okay, so we have that down. Now I'm going to take the measurement I have on the hip and place it also on my full length. Now in this case, if you want the bottom of your jumpsuit to be wider, like you want it to open more, to be flowy at the end, you can add 2 inches to that measurement. Say for example, mine is 15.5 inches. I can decide to add 2 inches to that. So that means at the bottom, I will use 17.5 instead of 15.5. Okay, just like I did at the top. That it simply gives you a wider base at the edge. That's at the full part of, if that is what you want. Okay, you just add extra inches to that, 2 inches, 3 inches, depending on how wide you want the base of your jumpsuit to be, depending on how free you want it to be. So like I explained earlier, you can just add 2 inches to that and just connect it back to meet the hip point, and then it's going to give you a wider base. So the next one we want to work on is our crouch. Now on this area, um if you're on the small size, you can, if your hip falls under 40 inches or falls below 40 inches, you can use 2 to 2.5 inches for yours. But if yours goes above 40 inches, you can use 3 inches, 3.5, depending on the size of your hip. Now, this is important to take note of because it gives you a lot of room, a lot of allowance at this end. Okay, so you have a lot of room, a lot of allowance, a lot of freedom, because that is what you should have around the crouch area in the case of this boho jumpsuit. It is not meant to be snugged around your crouch. All right, so the next thing we'll do is to place same measurements we have at that crouch line on the full length. Okay, just along the same line. Now this measurement should be taken on the ends where you have the folded end, where both ends of your fabric is folded. It should not be taken where one part is open. It should be taken where you have both ends of your fabric folded. So that's where I took it. So whatever measurement you take at the crouch area, you go ahead and take it also at the full length. So in this case, I use 2.5 inches for mine. So I took 2.5 inches also at the full length. So if you're using 3 inches at the crouch, you're expected to use 3 inches at the full length. Okay. Now from that end there, now I want to get my curve. I'll go out by 1 inch and then just use my free hand to just make a curve to meet my crouch line. That's just simply what I did. I just made a simple curve at that end to meet that crouch area like so. Okay, so that's what we have. Now I want my dress to have a cut together pocket. Now this has a pocket. If you want your pocket to be separated, you can also do that. But I wanted this to be so easy, so free. So I'm going to cut my pocket together with this because I have room for that. So from my waist point, I went down by 1 inch and then I measured 7 inches from that point, which would be the wideness of my pocket. That's the width of my pocket. Okay, so you can make yours bigger. It simply depends on what you want. So I just went down by 1 inch at the waist and then I marked 7 inches, which met my hip point exactly. So I will just use my free hand to just make a curve at that end. Okay, so I placed my hand earlier and I had enough room for my pocket. So I just use my free hand to just curve that end together to give me my pocket. So I'm just simply cutting my pocket together with this. So you can see I'm placing my hand again to ensure that I have enough room, and then making adjustments where I need to. Then after that, I'll just go ahead and cut out the ends I will not be needing. So this is what I have after I finish cutting it out. This is what it looks like. You can see how this looks like. Okay, so I will open this up for you to get a better view. You can see how this looks like. I'm sorry you cannot see the other ends of this, but this is what I also have on my other side. Okay, so I want to open up one end of this to serve as the back. I'll make like an opening at the midpoint of the top part of this to serve as a back. Now remember, this is going to have a loop, so I didn't want the loop to be resting on the shoulder end, any of them, so I want it to rest at the back. You can also just leave yours open and just leave your rope to end at one part of your shoulder. So from this end, after folding the piece equally, I went down by 7 inches, and then I made a mark there which will serve as the length of my opening, and then I'll go in with my scissors to just open that in. Now in the case of this, I want to use this for the back, but you can also use this for the front, like tie it in front instead of tying it at the back. Okay, so I prefer it this way. I don't really like it at the shoulder areas, but if you want yours to be at the shoulder, you can go ahead and use that. So after doing that, you can see what it looks like. Okay, after we open that up, so we're going to pipe around that area. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut out this little piece that I'll be using to pipe this area. I will just place this from the front, just in form of a bias, and use that to pipe the neck, the opening there. Okay, so this is what it looks like after I finished. Okay, you can also use an already made bias for yours. So I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing for the armhole area of the back piece, and do the same thing also to my back piece. So I will just use a bias. In this case, I'm going to use an already made bias to just pipe the armhole. So this is what I have after I did that. I just used a black already made bias to do that. You can also use the same fabric color or an already made bias to pipe the armhole. Okay, so this is what mine looks like after piping it. So the next thing I want to do is to fold up my casing. Okay, so remember I used 2 inches for my casing. So I'll fold half of an inch firstly, and then I'll fold 1.5 inches to ensure I exhaust my entire 2 inches. That entire 2 inches I added for this. Now I'll repeat the same thing for my back piece also. So since this is open into two, you're going to do the same thing on both ends. Fold half of an inch and fold in 1.5 inches, and go ahead and stitch it. So ensure that all they are matching perfectly on the same line. So this is what I have after I finished. This is what it also looks like in front. So this is the back piece also. You can see that it is matching. So ensure that one is not higher than the other one. Okay, they should be matching perfectly. So the next thing I would do is to place my piece together, right side to right side. So you place the right side of your back piece to the right side of your front piece, matching the fabric, the where you want to be your the front of your dress, your jumpsuit in this case, together, aligning them together. So you can use your pins to just pin them together so that they are in place properly. So you place them together, align the pocket area, and after which we're going to use 1 inch to just stitch the sides, and then around the pocket we'll be using half of an inch to stitch in our pocket areas and then go back to 1 inch and complete the ends. Okay, now the reason why we're using half of an inch in the pocket is because if we use more than that, we're going to reduce the size of our pocket. Okay, so you use 1 inch for the sides, and then you use half of an inch on inside the pocket areas down, and then you use 1 inch back. So this is what I have after I did that. You can see how this looks like. Okay, this is the wrong side of my fabric. You can see I used 1 inch on the bodice area, and then I used half of an inch on my pocket so that I have enough room to place my hands. So the next thing I want to do is to work on my crouch area. So I'll just go in with my pins to just pin them down properly, ensure they're placed together accurately. So you need to match them perfectly. Okay, so after matching them, just go ahead and stitch it down by half of an inch. All right, then after which you just go in and hem the edge, you fold in half inch and then fold in another half inch. Okay, so this is what it looks like after I finish. This is the crouch area. This is what we have. Okay, so this is an easy tutorial. This is a simple jumpsuit to make. It looks fine when you wear it. It's just simple and nice. Okay, so we'll go ahead and turn this over to the right side so we get a better view of what we're talking about. So this is our jumpsuit in front. You can see how nice this is looking already. So I advise you use a very colorful, very pretty fabric to do yours. You can use any fabric of your choice. Use I think you should use a fabric that is soft in texture. It is going to bring out the beauty of this. So we want to work on the belt for this. I've gone ahead to cut out this piece for my belt. It measures about 46 inches in length. Okay, and the width I have about 4 inches in width. So for this, what I'll do is just fold this up into two and just stitch it down, close the ends, leave one end open where I'll use to turn it over to the right side. Now for the rope for our casing, I've also gone ahead to cut out a strip of rope. So you can use your rope can be as long as you want, okay, but make sure you have enough to pass through the neck area. So in this case, in my own, I actually cut out one of about 76 inches of length because I think this is okay. This is good enough. But if you want yours to be longer, you can. If you want it to be shorter, it should be about 6 inches. All right, and then the width I have here is about 1.5 inches of width. So what I want to do is to just pipe this, like fold this up. So I'll place this on the right side, like the wrong side facing me, and then I'll fold half of an inch inwards on one side, fold half of an inch inward on the other side, and then just slap it up together and then stitch it down all through to give me like a tiny strap. So that is what we'll be doing for this. So this is what I have. So this is my strap after I finish. You can see how this is. So if you want yours to be longer, you can do that. So ensure you fold in the edges so that it gives it a neat finishing and your work comes out looking fabulous. So we're going to pass our rope through the casing we created. So I'm going to start this from the back because that is where I want this to end, and then I'll take it to the front. Okay, so I'm using my safety pin to just pass this through and take it to the other side of the back, okay, which is where I will be tying this up at the end. So you can simply adjust this to how you want it to be, for it to be free on the neckline or for it to be tight on the neckline. So you can see this is an easy, quick and simple tutorial. And then for the belt, you can just pass this around the waist area and tie it up or leave it free depending on how you want your jumpsuit to appear on your body. It totally depends on your choice. So I'll go ahead and wear this and show you the final result of our jumpsuit. So this is what it looks like when I finished and then I wore it. So you can see how nice this looks. So this is what I was talking about, dropping the crouch area more so that it drops more instead of going up. You can see how mine is. Okay, so I advise you use 7 to 8 inches for that to drop more. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this, and if you found this tutorial helpful and you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. So you can see how this looks like when it is tied up. Okay, I really enjoyed making this. I think I'm going to make several of this to where it is easy, it is quick, and it is beautiful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.